Welcome back to MSC 635. This will be the final video in the video series. I want to thank you for joining me along this journey. And this is going to be my advice in buying a home. Homes are very large purchases, so you really want to take your time, be patient. You want to do it right, because if you get yourself in a mortgage you can't afford, it can very quickly put you in a lot of trouble with foreclosure and bankruptcies and things like that, and really destroy your credit and make it hard for you to borrow money for a large amount of time. The first thing you have to decide is, what type of house do you want? Do you want a single family home, which is your traditional home, several bathrooms and bedrooms and that sorts of thing? Do you want a multi-level home, which is usually like a fourplex where you got four different units? Or do you want maybe to start out with a condo? One key thing that I would definitely try and stay away from is definitely trailers. Trailers are very inefficient when it comes to heating and cooling, and there's a huge amount of depreciation quickly. It's a very poor investment on any level. Manufactured homes would be the next one I would maybe try and avoid. Okay. So what I would suggest, if you are a single person and don't have a family or not married or anything like that, I would look into a multi-family home to start. This way, if you've got 4 units, you can live in one unit, or if you've got, and the other 3 people can help you pay, the other 3 people you can rent out the other 3 units and have them help pay the mortgage. This is how I got started. It was very beneficial to me. One thing I will say, whatever you're deciding to buy, I would caution to also try and stay away from homeowners associations. It's very restrictive a lot of times on what you can do as far as home improvements, what kind of home you can have, whether you can have a fence. Later on you want to maybe move into a bigger home but keep that home and rent it out. Sometimes homeowners associations restrict that, okay? So, not to mention you usually have an annual fee. So there's very, very few reasons I would suggest moving into any kind of home with a homeowners association, okay? Now, if you have a family, you're married, maybe 1 or 2 kids, you may want to look more at a traditional home, okay? I would say that would be the best bet there. We're going to move, as we move through this, you'll see what kind of loans and kind of how to prepare for that. Okay, when it comes to condos, again, a lot of times as a homeowners association, I would be very careful there. If it is reasonable that you're just buying it for an investment property and the rules of the homeowners association allow you to have renters, that might be one of the few exceptions I would find it advantageous. Number 2, we're going to look at the types of mortgages that a lot of people have and they get. Some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks. My recommendations, given at all possible, I would try and not get a mortgage at all. If you can pay for it outright, it is always the best solution, okay? You avoid interest and, all kinds of number of other things that you have to pay that maybe would be benefit not to have to do. First is a 30-year fixed loan. So that means that the interest rate is going to be fixed over the life of 30 years, okay? Now keep in mind, if you buy a traditional home, or maybe even up to a multi-level home up to 4 units, that if you put down less than 20%, you're going to have an additional insurance that the bank will charge you, okay, for basically not having enough invested in there. Also, you got to keep in mind, a lot of times when you have a mortgage, you're going to have what's called an escrow, and that's money that the bank collects so that they can pay the property tax, so that they can pay the insurance, okay? So your payment may not stay the same even though the interest rate is the same, because the payment cycles for the taxes and the payment cycle for the insurance may not correspond, so that you're able to pay the correct amount. So there may be the amount, what I'm saying is the amount collected isn't the amount that is actually due. It may be less, there may be deficiency. A lot of times the bank will offer you the opportunity to make a one-time payment to keep your payments the same. Otherwise, if you choose not to do that, they spread that out over the next 12 months and they add that to your monthly mortgage payment. So that's something you want to keep in mind. That's one of the big reasons I'm not a huge fan of mortgages. The second one is a 15-year fixed rate. Same principle as the 30, except for you're only doing it half the time. I know now that with after the big banking crisis, that a lot of traditional community banks, even some of the larger banks, are staying away from that 30-year. They don't really want to hold those loans that long. They're pushing more the 15-year fixed. It can have some benefits and some drawbacks. So I'll come back to that and tell you kind of what I recommend you do. ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. So basically what happens is you sign up for a mortgage, and for a set period of time your mortgage will not change, usually a year. And after that year it will begin to fluctuate, and it may go up and it may go down, okay? Based on the prime rate or however they, dictate those terms. These are can be very dangerous in a volatile environment where interest rates are going up and down quite a bit. I definitely would try and stay away from this. It is a good vehicle if you can get great terms in the beginning and you're using it for a quick investment tool, but without some more education knowledge, it can get you in a lot of trouble. I wouldn't use it to buy your home that you plan on living in. And the balloon loan is basically also good for investment, but you're basically paying pretty much, for the most part, just interest only, maybe interest and a little bit of principal for a determined amount of time, and at the end of that time you're going to be required to pay the full amount. Most of the time it's an interest only loan with a big balloon payment at the end. So unless you've got some kind of quick turnaround investment you're trying to do, which takes a little bit of sophistication, I would try and stay away from balloon loans. Now, when it comes to 30 and 15, okay, how I would determine this is what percentage of interest difference there is between 15 and 30. If there is less than 1%, I would go ahead and get the 30-year loan in, but this is what I would do when it comes to payments. Since the payments are lower, and that's your option, you can, if you're struggling or having time, you will be able to make that payment. Now, if you're doing well and things are going well, I would go ahead and pay it at the 15, at the rate that you would pay that 15-year loan. Now, the thing is, you're not as much of it's going to go to principal, okay? A little bit more will go to interest in the beginning, okay? But it's a safer loan, because you never know when things happen, in life, and you're not always in a good economic position. So that's what I would do as far as 30-year versus 15. I went ahead and went with the 30 and making payments at the 15. And obviously you want to make sure that there's no language in there that there's any penalty for an early payoff. Most financial institutions stay away from that now anyway, okay? Now, when it comes to making payments and how much you should pay, what you want to do is you want to base it on your net income, that's the money that you take home after you pay taxes, your health insurance, and all, maybe life insurance, and any of those things that come out of your paycheck. Okay, you want to keep your payments between 20 and 35%. I mean, 35, we're talking the top of your net income, okay? you don't want to get your dream home and be what we call house poor. Houses require a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeeps, things break. So you need to have money to maintain the home. So, and you still want to be able to go out and enjoy and do things. So, you know, if at that point, you know, you're not making really a whole lot of money and you can only afford 25%, you know, and live comfortably, this is what it all comes back to, why I always encourage people to set up a budget so they know exactly how much money's coming in and what they're spending their money on. Well, that's my advice for buying a home. I want to thank you for joining me through these video series. I hope you found them helpful, and that'll be the end of it.